Help me! Help me! Somebody help me!
From the great works of Shakespeare to the surreal screenplays of Michael Weller, the tragic element abets in the delivery of poignant life lessons. Since we've been young, the typical plot in movies always seem to lead towards the classic happy ending. It's only with time and more exposure to the outside world do we realize that these movies are by no means completely analogous to our lives. That is, the happy ending slowly becomes a cliche as well as an illusioned aspect of reality, whether or not the movie itself is fictional or non-fictional. A good tragedy should be one that leaves the reader or viewer anguished at its resolve. Tragedy centers around what I like to call the focal character. The focal character is not necessarily the main character, however, it could be. Some may even go as far as to call the focal character a tragic hero. Elements of the focal character include, but are not limited to, a potential for greatness, a strong moral standing, and a charming personality. They may be a leader or some sort of beacon that people rally behind. He is the focal character because his existence is critical to delivering the main message. The tragedy uses him as a means to convey the theme. A more modern group of movies that ties itself with tragic literature and screenplay is the hood or inner city subgenre. Oftentimes, the plot follows a person, sometimes a group, within an impoverished inner city, ridden with societal decay, drug abuse, poverty, domestic instability, educational disarray, crime and gang violence, etc. The use of foreshadowing causes for there to be this ever-pervasive cloud of impending demise cast upon our focal characters, almost to the point that it becomes a cliche in and of itself. We expect something bad will eventually happen to them. Given the dark and monochromatic nature of his surroundings, the focal character is noticeably colorful. It's made clear earlier on that he is gifted, has some sort of talent, and that if anyone should succeed, it should be him. Unfortunately, seeing how chaotic and unpredictable his environment is, he becomes a victim of circumstance. Take, for example, Morris Chestnut's character Ricky in the movie Boys in the Hood. Ricky, a talented football player who is recruited by a college scout, has many prospects to look forward to. Unlike his half-brother, Ricky is loved by his mother. Ricky is the neighborhood star and almost everybody wants to be his friend. Unfortunately, after an argument with some gang members, Ricky is gunned down while running away from them.
Mama! Mama!
What y'all doing now? Ricky?
What did you do to him?
Another example of a focal character being robbed of their lives can be seen in the movie Menace to Society. Being a product of his environment, the hood, Tyron Turner's character, Kane, happens to find himself oftentimes in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people. Take, for example, the first scene of the movie. Kane and his friend, O-Dog, played by Lorenz Tate, walk into a convenience store ran by two East Asian couples. After Kane's friend O-Dog is insulted by the husband, he kills the spouse, takes the tapes out of the cameras, and proceeds to loot the cash register.
Bring the motherfucking videotape right now. Hey nigga, hey, clean this cash register. Come on. Shut up. Hey, what? The fuck up with that noise. Hey, you gotta shut the fuck up. I ain't playing. Hey, put the motherfucking tape in. What the fuck did you do, man? Right now. I said eject. Bitch, if you don't eject, I'm gonna smoke your fucking. Hey, bitch, do it right now. Bitch, I told you stupid ass. Shut the fuck up. Nigga, hurry up. Damn. Come on, man, let's raise up, man. Damn. I can't believe it. Nigga, I thought I told you to open the damn register. Damn, nigga.
Kane, on the other hand, is forced to bear witness. He also accidentally leaves a beer bottle on the floor with his fingerprints. The movie is a string of bad choices made by our focal as well as main character, which ultimately results in an error. Kane beats up the brother of the girl he impregnated and refuses to be with. The movie was leading in a direction that pointed towards Kane fixing his life, leaving with a newly found love interest and her son. Kane is killed by the brother of the girl he impregnated and refuses to be with. The ending scene is him posthumously narrating the ending of his life, calling back to a question his grandfather had once asked him, whether or not he cared if he lived or died.
Damn, Sharif.
Hold on, get some fucking help, nigga. Man. Get him out of here, son. Go get some fucking help, nigga. Man. Get some fucking help. Not my niggas. Oh, hope you all right. Get some fucking help. Shit. Get the fuck out of here. Fight. Come on. No. Just fucking me up again. Come on, baby.
After stomping Ali's cousin like that, I knew I was gonna have to deal with that fool someday. Damn. I never thought he'd come back like this. Blasted. Like I said, it was funny like that in the hood sometimes. I mean, you never knew what was gonna happen or when. I had done too much to turn back. And I'd done too much to go on. I guess in the end, it all catches up with you. My grandpa asked me one time, do I care whether I live or die? Yeah, I do. Now it's too late.
The Hood, as it is in real life and on screen in literature, encapsulates a brutal depiction of life that serves as a juxtaposition to the typical happy ending cliche that so many of us expect. After all, that's why we're so shocked to find out what happens to our focal characters. After watching so many of these movies, I've come to the realization that the Hood as an environment is rough. The streets, as they call it, is unforgiving. It's easy for us to criticize people who live in these environments while we sit in relatively better conditions in safer neighborhoods with stable upbringings. However, we must understand that people are a product of their environment. We also must ask ourselves how these environments seemingly sprung out of nowhere because, hint, they didn't. At least in the case of the United States, the byproduct of racism, gentrification, and segregation, as well as class inequality, created a breeding ground for such environments to exist. The well-off class can try to push off the blame and point to various reasons as to why these environments are the way they are, some of which are seemingly backed up by scientific evidence. The well-off class can blame the individual who's unfortunate enough to be born into these communities and claim that there's no barrier in which they can break through. Pretty much the narrative stands, because there is no law that directly states an individual is oppressed, oppression cannot exist. However, there is another proposition. The well-off class can admit that they've benefited from a system that puts their interests and wants before the needs of less fortunate individuals. And I think that's an important lesson we can all take away from this. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Leave a comment down below. And please answer the poll question. I'm trying to do more of these things and I want to know how I can better myself. Thanks again. See you on the next one. Peace.
Do the right thing, Do the right thing, nigga. Do the right thing, It don't have to be a dream, nigga. Cause where I'm from, I'm always living dreams, nigga. Do the right thing, nigga. Do the right thing. 2016, nigga.
Turned on the TV this morning. Had this shit on about about living in a violent world. Showed all these foreign places foreigners living on. Started thinking, man. Either they don't know, don't show, or don't care about what's going on in the hood.